For those of you who don't know me, which is probably most of you, I'm Lauren Needy, and with my partner Christine and Beck, we are the founders of the American School of Storytelling. The American School of Storytelling is committed to the oral narrative arts, storytelling, poetry, spoken word, singer-songwriters, periodically comedy, and 3 or 4 times a year for reasons that continue to elude me, other than the fact they like the stage, flamenco. So, but I'll tell you, every time I roll the rug and they come up on the stage, I get nervous because this is the second light net I've had to install. It wasn't not their fault. So, we do online and in-person classes and performances. This is a performance tonight. Let me just walk you through a couple of performances that are coming up yet this month. This is kind of a weird month because we front-loaded the front of the month, and then next Wednesday, Christine and I go to Texas, and we're in Texas for a week at the Texas Storytelling Festival. So, but when we come back, on Monday the 16th is the Storytelling Open Mic. Any story, traditional, personal, at any stage of development, 10 minutes or one story, whichever comes sooner. It's free. It's an interesting mix. On Saturday, March 21st, we're going to celebrate spring with Brenda Varda is going to be doing a workshop on songwriting. So for those of you who are of a songwriting bent or know people who want to look at the relationship of poetry to songwriting, this will be the workshop for you. It runs from 1 to 4 in the afternoon on Saturday, the 21st. On Monday, March 23rd, it's the Poetry Open Mic. 3 poems, 5 minutes, whichever comes sooner. Again, traditional poems, personal poems, your poems, other people's poems. We have had a lovely and interesting mix of stuff along the way, including Italian sonnets in Italian, Shakespeare, Bible verses, and people reading right off their phone what they had written in the audience, however they're listening to other folks. The other, that's sort of what I'm going to mention here, except for one more item, which is that on Wednesday, the 25th of March, Christine, myself, and several of the people who are regulars at the Poetry Open Mic will be at Poets and Pints at Sisyphus Brewing, starting at 7 o'clock. We are hosting, and we are the feature, whatever that means. But there's also an open mic, so again, and there's beer. We have soda available, but we don't have alcohol. But at Sisyphus, you can get a beer. So there we are. Christine, what? Oh yeah, this coming Monday on the 9th, Ruby Rain is doing number 3 of her series of 5 called In the Palm of Her Hand. And each of the performances has focused on a particular sense. This Monday, the sense is the sense of smell, or as I keep joking, the nose knows. So it'll be a mix of stories, mythology, and audience participation. Ruby is promising lots of things to sniff, whatever that means. So with that, I will get out of the way and let the evening proceed.
I feel the pressure now because I didn't bring anything for you guys to sniff. I'm really happy to be here. I've been here now a couple of times. I love having always been such great hosts, and it's cool to hear that you're going to be the host at Poets and Pints, which has like Clap Walnut associations, which is something that I was part of for a long time. So yeah, I just want to really give it up to the space here. Like it's because I've come here for events, and it's always fun, always great hosts. I just love working with them. If at any time you want to get up and grab a soda, please do. Anything to support the venue. And yeah, thank you all for coming. My name is Satish Jayaraj. I have a couple hats, but right now I am a storyteller. I'm obsessed with Indian mythology at the moment. And in my last 2 times, or 3 times, or however many times here I've been doing the story called the Mahabharata, which is this big, long, kind of epic that is never ending in many ways, and just, it's a piece that I'm just kind of studying and telling the story of. And originally when I signed up to be here for you guys today, I thought I would do that. And a shit ton of stuff happened in the Twin Cities. And so I'm like, okay, what do we need? What do I want to give right now? What do we need right now? And I thought about stories about courage and confidence and community and things. And I kind of settled on the most complicated and easiest thing of all, which is love. And so I would like to, thank you all for coming, and I will just dive into the story of eternal love, the story of the god Shiva, and the feminine force, Adi Shakti. In the Hindu traditions, you have the 3 primal gods. You have Brahma, who is the creator, you have Vishnu, and then you have Shiva. Brahma came from Brahma came from Vishnu, and then Brahma, who was the creator, who was tasked with creation, and kept having kids through unorthodox ways, but none of those kids wanted to help him create the universe. They wanted to go and just kind of explore it. And there was a point when he got so angry and furious, and that manifested as Shiva. Shiva, also known as Mahadeva, because in many incarnations of him, he's the most powerful god, the blue-throated one, the one who dances in the top of the world, in the Himalayas. Shiva is known as a god who will always is the recluse. Unlike Brahma and Vishnu, who are invested in society, the uniqueness about Shiva is that he will spend his entire immortal life in meditation, being away from everything. But the universe needs Shiva to be more part of the world. And the force that knows this is the force of Adi Shakti, the eternal feminine force. Brahma first finds out about Adi Shakti in a discussion with Shiva, and in seeing the future, and seeing Shiva, half male, but then also half female, as Antarshwasta. And from this he realizes that this is what is needed for creation. The feminine force is needed for him to keep going and to create the universe as we know it. Adi Shakti, though, is still, especially in the beginning of everything, is this ethereal force, not yet part of the physical plane. And it is Brahma's son, Daksha. Daksha creates the ceremonies. Daksha does the yagnas of the fire ceremonies where people gather and celebrate and create civilization and spread civilization. And Daksha, upon discovering Adi Shakti, prays to Adi Shakti and asks that she become part of the physical world by being born as his daughter. Adi Shakti, the eternal feminine force, who until this time has been just ethereal, knows that it is her destiny, that she is one half and Shiva is another half. And that with Shiva being the recluse, with Shiva being the one that wants to stay away, it is her purpose, not just to love him and be part of him, but to bring him into the society. And thus it is her destiny to join the living. She agrees to be Daksha's child on the condition that she is never disrespected. She has seen how people are with each other. She has seen how human emotions can get too high and mistakes are made, and she makes sure that Daksha promises that he will never disrespect her. And of course, Daksha, excited to have Adi Shakti as his daughter, agrees wholeheartedly. As Adi Shakti grows up, in the form now of Sati, her first physical form, Sati becomes obsessed with Shiva, with the recluse, with the one who hangs out on the top of the Himalayas, dancing or meditating away from the society. Daksha hates Shiva. Daksha is all about the creation of society. And then you have this recluse of the gods, who even when he is brought in to honor others, never stands up, lives by his own rules, or just has no rules to live by. And so, complete antithesis to what Daksha represents. And many times has also gone against him. There is a history there of Daksha wanting to punish the moon for cheating on his daughters, but Shiva finds a way to forgive him. There are points when his father Brahma has been in fights with Shiva, where Brahma has lost one of his 4 heads. All things that Brahma himself no longer has any issue with. But Daksha takes this very personally. And Daksha tries time and again to stop his daughter Sati from marrying Shiva, from spending any time with Shiva. And you can't completely blame the man, because what kind of life is that? To go and live in the Himalayas with nothing, just living off of nature, spending most of time just in meditations, away from everyone and everything. It is not a life. It is certainly not a life by Daksha standards. Yet, Sati goes and marries Shiva. And in this tradition where they circle the fire, for that is how weddings happen, Daksha thinks even then how this is all an abomination, and how now even his daughter is no longer his daughter. He immediately starts organizing one of the greatest yagna ceremonies that has ever happened. He invites everybody. He invites, of course, Brahma and Vishnu. He also invites all the other gods. He invites the demons, all the different forms of the demons, the Daityas, the Rakshasas, the Asuras. He invites all the sages as well, the wise sages who have lived immortal lives on the earth, including, ironically enough, even those who worship Shiva. He invites everyone except Sati and Shiva. Sati waits and waits for her invitation. It is her father, after all. Surely something should come. Assumes at some point that maybe it was an accident. Maybe that some mistake happened. Maybe the delivery didn't come. And decides that she wants to go. She will go to the yagna, for it is her family, after all, and they have invited everyone else. Her husband Shiva warns her, this is a yagna. This is a ceremony of magic and fire that is connected to the entire cosmos. If you go there and start trouble, if you go there uninvited, it is going to cause ripple effects. But Sati insists that this must always be a mistake. He made a promise to me. He promised me that he would never disrespect me. And in this mortal life, he is still her father. And so, Shiva agrees to let her go. She invites him to come along, but he says, no, I was not invited, I am not going. Take the bull, take Nandi, take whatever you wished as part of the yagna, and go. Sati gets to the yagna, and it is a fantastical thing. There is a central fire that everyone is throwing ghee on. There is music, there is flowers, there is all these priests chanting. It is a place of extreme power. She walks past demons who are obediently also part of the yajna. She walks past the devas. She walks then to her family. And the inklings start to happen when she sees her sisters, and they don't immediately make eye contact with her. A couple of them do come to her and ask why she is here. Why did you come? It's like, I am part of this family. She walks up then to Daksha, who dismisses her. And when she demands his attention, asks, why is Shiva not here? Why is this member of the Trimurti not here? She turns to Vishnu and Brahma. How are you guys here and not seeing that this is disrespect? You three are one. You three are the universe, our God. How is this not a problem that he is not here? The sage Tadashi stands up. Tadashi worships Shiva, realizes in this moment that this whole yagna, this whole spell of magic is all just to disrespect Shiva, that there is no other purpose to this. And as a devotee of Shiva, he decides to leave. And with one pin gone, others also start to see the problem. Others also start to acknowledge that we should not be here. We should not be disrespecting Shiva, Mahadeva. And one by one they do start to leave. Daksha, Sati approaches him and said, invite him now. Bring him here now. And Daksha refuses. I will not have him here. He has no place here. There are demons here because they are part of something. There are gods here because they are part of something. All he does is sit on that mountain, dance and meditate and smoke ganja. It is all he does. He has no place here, ever. I will never call him here. And you chose to marry him. You left us. You went to the Himalayas and you married him there. You also have no place here. And Sati mourns with a big giant yagna in front of her, seeing the people leave and the disrespect happening. Sati is on this world to bring Shiva from the Himalayas to society. Not all the time, but at least some of the time, to be half and half, to be part of this society. How can this happen now? If she is that link, and now her father has said that you are no longer part of the family, what purpose does Sati have here? And she looks at Daksha and says, I am Adi Shakti. You made me a promise that you would never disrespect me. You will deal with the curse of this fallout. And Sati throws herself into the yagna fire and burns to death. In that moment, Shiva, meditating, eyes open, furious and rage, senses his other half, senses the love of his life, the one person who he agreed to be a householder with in the entire universe, who he gave in. He had told her, do you really want this marriage to happen? You know my lifestyle. And she said yes, knowing that she will, or believing that she will be able to bring him in to be more united with Brahma and Vishnu and the rest of society. Shiva raging, his fury going to his head, and he picks a lock of hair and tosses it to the ground. And that hair comes to life, grows into a demon unlike anyone has ever seen. A giant, manic monster with 1,000 arms. And he asks his god, Mahadeva, what am I here for? And Shiva, in absolute rage that the one person he loved, the one person who had a chance of changing him a little bit, of bringing out that side of him, destroy the yagna. And Veerbhadra, the name of this mighty 1,000-armed demon, rushes to the yagna and begins to slaughter everybody. And the ripple effect starts to be felt throughout the cosmos. For this yagna was connected to everything. We see the earth shake and the heavens shake and all the many worlds having terrible curses happening. Volcanoes overflowing, everything is falling apart now. They go to Shiva and beg him, Brahma and Vishnu, please, do not let this happen. And for a while, Shiva just listens and hears them, but too much in a rage, for he misses his wife. He misses Sati. And when he goes to the yagna, he pulls the lifeless corpse of Sati out of the fire. The realization right in front of him, and he begins to dance with her. While his demon is slaughtering everyone around, Shiva dances with Sati, with the corpse of Sati, manically. And Brahma and Vishnu see this happening, and they know that that this should never have gotten this far, that they should have stepped in further. And they also know that as long as that Shiva will dance with her till the end of time. That with his trauma, with his pain, with his love, right there, moving with him, this will be the dance that will destroy the universe. And so Vishnu pulls out his chakra, pulls out his spinning disc, and throws it at the body of Sati, separating the body into 108 pieces that fall to earth and become monuments to the goddess, to Adi Shakti. Shiva, with the body gone, with nothing to dance with, slows down, allows himself to think, and allows himself also, even slightly at least, to forgive. And he restores all the damage done by Veerbhadra, except Daksha in this commotion. Veerbhadra destroyed his head, smashed it into absolute nothing. Brahma begs him, please bring my son back to life as well. And Shiva finds the head of a goat and places the goat head on top of Daksha, brings him back to life, and then leaves. He's done. He's done with society. He is done with these rituals. He is done with this stupidity. He will be forever now. He will not take love again. He will return to the Himalayas, and he will be there till the end of time. When Adi Shakti, when Sati threw herself into the fire, though, it was to end this life, knowing that she is bonded with Shiva, that the universe would conspire in some way to bring her and him back together. Not knowing how, not knowing what forces would be, but she knew somehow, some way, she will be joined back with Shiva. What no one expected was that it would be one of the most terrible demons that would bring this into being. For there was a being named Taraka, a Rakshasa, a tyrannical demon king, who, after this all happened, did penances to Brahma, to the creator god, meditated for 100 years in water, meditated in 100 years with one leg pulled up, meditated in fire, until Brahma appeared before him. And Taraksha asked Brahma for a boon, to make him immortal. This is not the first time a demon has asked for immortality, and Brahma does not even have that capability. But he can bring you pretty darn close if you know what you want. There have been demons in the past who have said, make it so that no animals can kill me, no people can kill me. Somehow the gods will find a way. Taraksha now, armed with knowledge, comes in and says this, make it so I can only be killed by a child son of Shiva, knowing that Shiva is off meditating and completely disconnected from the world. Brahma, being an immortal being, being just a force of the universe, agrees. In a sense, he does not have a choice because the penances were done. And he grants the mighty Taraksha great, vast power, and again, that he can only be killed by a son of Shiva. Adi Shakti comes back as the daughter of Himavat, a king in the Himalayas itself. Already her new form is now bringing her closer to her love, to Shiva. And she grows up worshipping him, wanting to be in his company, knowing who she is and what her destiny is. But Shiva is too closed off, even to Adi Shakti. He has been meditating, he has been in this form for over hundreds of years now. And that has taken a hold of him. And to awaken him from that seems dang near impossible. She asked Brahma, and Brahma recommends that she speak to Kamadeva, the god of love that came out of Brahma's own heart. So she prays to Kamadeva, summons him, and Kamadeva arrives on his giant pallet with his magical bow made of sugarcane and bees with arrows of flowers. And asks Sati, what is it that she asks Parvati, what is it that she wants, the Adi Shakti? Shoot an arrow at Shiva. And Kamadeva is reluctant, but knowing that this must happen, aims his arrow of sugarcane, aims his arrow of flowers with a bow of sugarcane, and shoots a flurry of flowers right at Shiva's heart. And the arrows touch upon him and start to peel and deepen and get deep close to his heart. But before it touches it, the discomfort awakens Shiva. His eyes open, and his third eye of destruction opens in the direction of the arrow. And the beautiful god, Kamadeva, is immediately destroyed, disintegrated. Realizing what he has done, he approaches the ash as Kamadeva's own wife Rati comes. Rati curses Parvati, curses this form of Adi Shakti, that she will never be pregnant. Shiva promises that Kamadeva will come back to life centuries from now. Parvati tries to get his attention, But Shiva is determined not to give any, to return back. And so Shiva returns to the Himalayas, and Sati is now cursed. Cursed that she will never bear children, will never ever be pregnant. And the gods themselves start to worry. What do we do now? We need a son of Shiva to stop Tarakat. Parvati has so much faith and so much love for Shiva that she doesn't care. And she decides she's going to get his attention. She becomes more of a recluse herself, goes to the Himalayas, mimics his lifestyle, understands it as a part of herself as well, and starts meditating fiercely, gathering all her energy and the energy of the world. For she is still Adi Shakti, she is still the feminine force. And the world begins to tremble. And Shiva awakens to this, approaches her, and discusses why she is here. And eventually agrees to marry her and take her as his wife. However, Parvati still has family and parents, different parents who are being a different life, who are not happy with the idea of their daughter marrying a recluse and living her life out away from everything. However, she has learned not to go marry him in the woods and to keep to the traditions and to bring Shiva to her home and marry in front of the family there. Shiva comes willingly, but Shiva's been living as a recluse for over hundreds of years. He has no concept of what societal norms are. Shiva is also a god that all the abandoned will pray to. It is said that when any other god rejects you, for whatever reason, justified or not justified, you can always pray to Shiva. So this, when Shiva is told to come and bring his family, this is his family. And Shiva comes to this prim and proper kingdom of the Himalayas with demons, with ghosts, with vampires and goblins, and all kinds of monsters, himself covered in ash, looking like the most frightening thing they have ever seen. But Parvati manages to quell and asks him, please, we're not staying here. Just for this moment, just for the wedding, can you adhere by our rules of this society, and then I will join you. And so Shiva agrees, and all the ghouls and the goblins and the demons and the vampires sit cross-legged, obedient. And Shiva himself is bathed in holy waters. And all of a sudden, this person that everyone was afraid of, all the women are now ogling at, even coming up with different names for him to celebrate his beauty. Shiva and Parvati get married, and then they return to the Himalayas. And the gods wait, because a child needs to happen to stop Taraksha, who is now climbing his way through the different worlds, completely invincible. The gods wait, and wait, and wait. And there is no sign of any child coming from Shiva. They worry about the curse as well. And so, it falls upon Agni, the god of fire, to go and see and check out on what is going on. So he climbs the Himalayas, not his favorite place in the world with the cold winds, and because he is a god of fire after all. But he climbs up the Himalayas with the high intensity winds and the sound, knocks on the door, and gets no response. Probably didn't even hear them because of all the chaos. Lets himself in with no other option. And right at that moment, when he lets himself in, Parvati and Shiva are having sex. But because it was interrupted, Parvati immediately rolls off Shiva in shock, Shiva ejaculates. Shiva has been celibate for thousands of years at this point. This was the seed that was going to be what led to the end of Talaksha. And Agni, in a sudden panic, jumps, turns into a pigeon. Of all things, I don't know why a pigeon. And gathers the semen before it hits the floor in his beak.
Oh, God.
Glad you didn't bring your nephew this way. Me too. Gathers all of it in his beak. This is nuclear semen. He is carrying it in his mouth, and it is burning, and he flies off. And after a while of flying, it just becomes too much, and he opens his mouth, and it comes out, spills onto the river. And the river itself starts to boil. And the goddess of this particular river manages to push the semen onto the shore of reeds. The shore becomes golden, and a child emerges from the earth. The child gets the attention of 6 goddesses of a constellation. And the 6 goddesses descend and start to fight over which one of them gets to nurse this amazing child. And the inherent power and consciousness or unconsciousness within this child, this son of Shiva, leads the child to develop 6 heads. And each head is nursed by each of the kritas, each of the constellation, each of the star parts of the constellation. After 7 days, nurtured by the power of these 6 powerful women, the child is even able to hold a weapon on day 7. He is Kartikaya, and the gods immediately happy swoop him up, and he joins. He knows his purpose, and he leads the army of the heavens against Talaksha, and successfully defeats him. The gods are happy, but Parvati had a son, and that son has now already got other duties. She needs something else to bring her husband in. She needs something else for him to be part of all of this society. Shiva continues now his life of spending some time with her and some time away doing his meditations on his own. It works out for him, yet she is unhappy. She needs something more. This is not the only purpose. She starts playing with some turmeric, starts gathering it around in her fingers more and more, mixing in with her sweat and other fluids coming from her hands, and starts to sculpt it, starts to shape it, makes it into a child. Names this child Ganesha. And this now comes from her. Whereas Kartikaya came strictly from Shiva, and although this child is not one that she was pregnant with, this child is hers. And at one point she needs to take a bath, and she asks Ganesha just to make sure no one else enters. And so she goes, takes her bath, and of course, Ganesha, standing guard, Shiva returns. No idea who this child is. Wants to go home. He has been out on his own for who knows how long. Now he wishes to be with his wife. And this child is standing up to Mahadeva. This child is saying, no. My mother said no one gets to come while she is showering, while she is bathing. and tempers start to flare, and a battle ensues between Shiva and Ganesh. And Shiva, fed up, frustrated, once again, opens his third eye, and Ganesha's head is literally blown from his body. The moment that happens, Parvati rushes out and sees her headless child. That morning starts to lambast Shiva. How dare you? You need to bring him back. This is my son. This is our son. And so Shiva finds the head of an elephant, brings that. The elephant apparently was one that he has a history with, and the elephant gave up its head willingly. Fits the head onto this child and brings it back to life. This now also being his child, for he has brought this child back to life. This is now the Shiva family, the Shiva Sati family of Shiva, Sati, Kartikaya, and Ganesha. And there's a lovely story of where they decide, Shiva and Sati decide, Adi Shakti decide, that it's time to get the two married, but which one do we marry off first? And they decide it's going to come down to a race. Ganesha, Kartikaya, you need to race around the world 3 times. And whoever comes here first will get to marry first. Kartikaya is excited, Ganesha not so much, and definitely not the warrior. Ganesha is the remover of obstacles. Ganesha, in spite of his initial confrontation with Shiva, is not the warrior that Kartikaya is. When the race starts, Kartikaya zooms. Ganesha just starts walking around his folks almost lost. Kartikaya, 1 revolution, Ganesha has not done any. The 2nd, finishing the 3rd, comes to the 3rd, happy, excited, and Shiva proclaims Ganesha the winner. Kartikaya took the physical route. He went around the world physically, which is valid. But Ganesha walked around his parents 3 times, walked around the feminine force, walked around the creator, destroyer, the power of evolution of the world. And in this way, took the spiritual path. Both valid, and Ganesha, having a much shorter distance, managed to finish first. And so the family goes on, and Adi Shakti and Shiva live happily. But there are other instances where they feel like there just needs to be more. There needs to be more between us. At one point, Shiva starts calling Adi Shakti Kali, which means black. Parvati's fathers were from the Himalayas. Their skin was as white as the snow caps. And Shiva, with his changing forms as well, in this point, is porcelain white skin. Doesn't know what to make as to why Shiva is calling her Kali. And she leaves and visits the god Brahma. And Brahma, she asks him, strip the black from me. Strip the Kali from me. And so, Brahma sprinkles some holy water on her, performs a spell. And all the darkness that is Kali starts to kind of leak off and sequester and become its own thing. There is a flash where they see this being's face, and then it goes into the ether. And Parvati feels now different. Feels like something very significant has happened. And when she returns to Shiva, he explains, you brought me into the world of society. And for this, I am grateful and the world is very grateful. But in doing so also, there was a part of you that became hidden. there was a part of you that didn't come out as much. And that part of you is the Kali. That now is free and will call upon you in different times. But it is important to note that now you have comforted me. There will come a point when I will need to comfort Kali. And much later, another demon with another impossible vow and protections starts to attack the universe. The demon's terms this time, after meditating in bonds for 1,000 years, was only to be killed, I can only be killed by a woman. To which one was curious as to why a woman? And the demon responses are not clear. They are the weakest of your kind. They are the weakest that you have created. So, no chance that will ever happen. Pursues, as demons have before him, to destroy the many realms of the universe. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva come together, knowing what the vow is, and they decide to combine the parts of themselves that are all connected to the Adi Shakti force. Pieces of them float together, combine, and mold. Shiva starts to mold the face, Brahma the chest, Vishnu the body, the legs, and other gods coming in as well. They form the god Durga, the defender. And each of these mighty gods, of these cosmic forces of the universe, give to the goddess Durga one of their weapons. Durga holds the Trishul from Shiva, she holds the spinning disc from Vishnu, and she holds the drum, the war drum from Brahma. Battles this demon, kills this demon. But later, yet another demon comes, twins in fact, and challenge Durga. Durga kills the one, and then in battling the other, swiping at him and slashing at him with every one of her weapons. Every drop of blood from this demon that falls to the floor sprouts a whole new demon. And thus, the more vicious, the more violent that Durga is, the more successful she is, the more enemies that she creates. But there is now coming in the universe. And from Durga, from her head, from her rage, comes the black form of Kali. Kali, again, more ruthless than Durga, flashes at each of these demons. The difference being, when a drop of blood spills from the demon, before it hits the ground, something lashes it up. A red snake of sorts. And it takes the demons a while to realize that as she is killing and slaying demons, her tongue is lashing out and catching everything before it hits the ground. Kali again victorious against the demons. There is a point where sage Brigu wants to worship Shiva, wants only to worship Shiva. In spite of everything that has happened, still sees Shiva as a singular force. And when he comes to worship Shiva, Sati is by his side. Sati and Shiva are one. You cannot worship him without also worshiping me. To do so is absolute blasphemy. But this very misogynistic sage is determined only to worship Shiva, only to spread ash on him and bless him and touch his feet. And as he tries, Adi Shakti surrounds him, always getting in the way, pressing herself to Shiva, which of course Shiva allows. And so Bhrigu turns himself into a bumblebee to get around and spin fast and to spin and to catch her. And to go past her and be blessed by Shiva and to touch the miraculous Shiva without touching Sati. Sati and Shiva start to bleed together, and then they see themselves joining, fusing into one being that Brahma saw who knows how many millions of years ago. And the form of Antashvara, the form of the physical male of Shiva and the feminine force of Adi Shakti completely bonded together. Bhrigu eventually is cursed by Sati, and yet Shiva cursed to lose all his flesh and to lose even that so that he can no longer stand. And Shiva, in a moment of pity, does grant him a third leg so that he can at least stand. And Adi Shakti and Shiva forever bonded as one, knowing and understanding that there is a balance that must always be maintained between one and the other. We are all both forces. We are all Shiva, we are all Adi Shakti, and we are all absolutely Antashvara, the combination of both. The acknowledgement that we are individuals and we need to be always individuals. But to approach true love and happiness also is to be part of the greater world, to be part of life with others, to be part of the greater society, while again finding that balance within oneself. Thank you. So if we have any questions, and of course if the question leads to a story, we have time, so I will go right into a story that way as well. Yeah, thank you all for coming. Any questions off the bat at all? Any curiosities to explore?
You kept going, oh sorry.
Yeah.
You kept going back and forth with, Sati was the original human form.
Yeah.
But yet you kept using the name later on, where
Yeah.
the form was different. So I don't know if that was intentional or was it?
That was very much an accident. Yeah. And it's because, like, sort of, like, there is a thing like the feminine force of like the Adi Shakti. And so for a lot of people, I think just because it could be any of them. It could be, she has many names. She has many other names in other stories. There's Uma, Durga is one, Kali is another. And sometimes it's just, I do feel like sometimes they're all just kind of, anyone who's a female god is going to be considered Adi Shakti. Which, it's all mythology and stories as well. And it is interesting to see some of her stories that happen as well, just kind of without him as well. Just to see like, yeah, where she kind of goes with that sort of thing. So yeah, unintentional. Yeah.
I think my experience in the West is that Kali is often just treated as if she's pure evil, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
I understand. What do you think that what an analogy for what she represents would be?
Oh, I think she does in many ways. There have been stories of her. There's another interpretation of her when she and when Sati and Shiva are arguing, and Kali comes and she overwhelms even the mighty Mahadev. So, she is kind of death and destruction very much. And my interpretation as well. People have different interpretations, but not evil. The monstrous form is kind of, I think, for me, it is a representation of just, I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, I've seen like, yeah, I mean, she's feminine fury in many ways.
Yeah.
But also just absolute fury about injustices. And I think that's where I see her invoked most. When there are like injustices against society and the world, like that's what people kind of come to. Like this is outrageous, and she is very much outrageous. If you know, the depiction of her is that Kali, like I think I mentioned, means black, so she's kind of also the black one. Long tongue, necklace of skulls. Not too surprising that when you see her, there's an assumption that she is evil. But I would say there is. I think what I do like about the Hindu mythology is that even the demons and they have their own stories and their own reasons. But some say that evil is not even like a concept within Hindu mythology.
If I may,
Yeah.
my feelings on Kali is that she's kind of that hidden feminine force. I know that's the word you're using, but like within all everybody. She's she's buried in there, and when it's needed, she comes out.
Yeah.
She's that protective instinct, like, you know, mama bears,
Yeah.
you know, coming out.
Yeah.
You know, like it's innate inside of everybody. But as a protector versus, you know,
Yeah.
a fighter.
I mean,
Maybe.
these are mythological figures. People can have their own interpretations. I see Durga more in that role. So Durga is known as the defender, woman warrior, riding a lion. I think what I love about Durga is that image of a woman on a lion is not unique to Hindu mythology. It's in tarot cards when you look at strength.
That's true.
But then it's all like, sure, it's in Hindu woman, but I know it's in Egyptian mythology as well. So there's something very like primal about this, of a lion and a woman being together. So I've seen that more as the defender, and then Kali's just the, we're done defending, we're going on the offense.
Yeah.
We're killing all these people. You know, that's how I kind of see more, see Kali more.
That's what I mean too. That's
Yeah.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One came from the other's head. So.
Yes.
Yeah. Which again is not uncommon. Like, I mean, we've seen that. I think Athena came from Zeus's head, and then Shiva came from Brahma's, and there's just been a couple of examples of that. So there's something always about like the third eye taking form. And the third eye is always meant to be like just an inner consciousness and like an inner awareness. So, yeah.
What if you talk a little bit more about what's I was fascinated with the story is when the demons would do whatever rituals or whatever, and then
Yeah.
sounds like the gods like had no choice but to grant them their.
The way I see it is that the gods are still kind of, they're parts of the universe, they're like cosmic identities, even though they have personalities and things. And so when the demons do devotions to them, it's that, and I mean, to me, I think there's an aspect of Hinduism that is a little bit realistic in that if you're evil and you want to do evil and you're devoted to being evil, there's not necessarily a force that's stopping you. At some point, yes, you can do great amazing things and terrible things, but if you're devoted to this thing, then you can do it. It's going to cause harm, it's going to cause unhappiness and horrid things, but it doesn't shy away from the fact that you can do this, that demons can do this. Does that help?
Yeah,
Yeah. So what I love about Hindu mythology is that it's just the philosophical aspects more than the religious aspects. I don't consider myself religious. I approach this mostly as a story, and like I've always loved like different mythologies, and there's definitely a depth to like the Hindu mythology that's about that you can look at and like really gain kind of these inner wisdoms. And so with this one, I was really like wanting to kind of portray this idea that we're all individuals, and we do have to love ourselves and spend time kind of with ourselves, but that's going to hit a limit, and we are also just part of society. We all have to kind of, and that's where like it awakens both sides. You know, if you can even consider them like two sides, because that feels a little even that feels a little like a binary thing to me. So, yeah, I can grab my book. I was putting this together and I had like a mission statement, which you don't really feel for a story. What I did was, so I wrote down like to want to kind of thread this through, to love, cherish, and honor who you are as an individual, as well as your active interactions with others in the world at large, and to find that balance between the two that is true happiness. That's what I'm hoping to kind of like, to share on that note. Yeah, so.
How do you like to embody Shiva?
Nice.
I really like meditating. I really have found just profound wisdom from being, I'm a creative writer as well, and I also do like creative life coaching. And it really is this balance of like, okay, let's first, before we take care of everyone else, how are we doing? Like, what can we do so that you are living your truest self? And how are you protecting yourself? What are you doing to take care? Meditation is definitely like a big part for me as one process for that. And then once that is better, then it's like, okay, now the people we're related to, now the husband, wife, children, family, society at large, like that to me is kind of one way. There's aspects of like happiness to me that is, there's something called the Purashastras, which talks about like what are the elements of happiness, and it's kind of what are the things that we want, like hedonistic things even, and then how do we want to kind of grow and just evolve in a way, and then how do we want to give back, and then what are we looking to let go of as well. And so for me, that's like an aspect of happiness that's one thing that I kind of central on, and yeah, I hope that answered the question. Yeah. That's kind of all I got. So yeah, I mean, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah. These are the parts that I always get. I have another show actually happening on the 21st. Stop by the table and grab one of my business cards and on the calendar. But I have one happening at Pangea on the 21st.
And you've got one happening here on the 24th of April.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
What, you forgot that one?
No, not at all. I'll be here on the 24th of April.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, please come by the table, say hi, chat, give these guys a mic. This is a great venue. And yeah, thank you all.
Yeah.